a while back, maybe like 2 weeks ago or something like that, I remember seeing in a comment section, somebody made the comment that The Rock basically skipped the whole James Cameron portion of Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie career, right? And I thought it was a really good way to describe The Rock's Hollywood kind of movie choices. And it makes me think back to The Rundown. When The Rundown first came out, and I don't remember how old I was, but I wasn't like a little kid, but I was young. I remember being very impressed with The Rundown. For that, I understand he was like in Scorpion King, and I think that might have happened before Rundown. I'm pretty sure Scorpion King probably came out before The Rundown, but I never saw Scorpion King. The Rundown is really kind of what I consider to be the beginning of The Rock's kind of true leading man action movie career or whatever. And I remember as a youngster being very, very impressed with The Rundown, like very optimistic. Like I'm like, okay, this is a very good start to an action movie career. If this is what you're doing at the beginning, then you're on the trajectory to do some really good stuff within the action genre. And the Rundown was actually kind of set up in that fashion, like this is the next action hero, because the last action hero, pun intended, Arnold Schwarzenegger, actually appears in the beginning of Rundown when The Rock is walking into the club to go retrieve this ring from this dude, and The Rock is walking in and Arnold Schwarzenegger is walking out, and it happens very quickly. Like it's actually a scene where if you look down at your popcorn for 2 seconds, you actually would miss it. So, but in The Rock, and Arnold Schwarzenegger brushes past him and says something to him. I can't remember what he says verbatim. He's saying something to him that really indicates that he's kind of passing the torch to him, basically. That's what that, and I've seen interviews where people have kind of hinted at that scene really signified the passing of the torch from Arnold to The Rock. So the whole movie was a really actually good setup for The Rock to be the next big action movie leading man, right? Quickly summarizing and going through some of the movies in The Rock's career, he did try things, because he tried this movie called Snitch, which, is definitely not like you wouldn't call that like a family movie, but it is executed in a way where people who don't like a lot of profanity and gratuitous things can watch Snitch. It's one of those type things where it's serious subject matter, but introduced in a way that all ages could probably watch it for the most part, which is kind of like, kind of a thing with The Rock with some of his choices, because even a movie like Faster, which initially when the trailers first came out for Faster, which is a really kind of straightforward, almost traditional revenge flick type thing. The Rock was doing a job with his brother. They got double-crossed, screwed over by somebody, and his brother ends up either getting locked up because of it or getting murdered. And The Rock, when he gets out of jail, wants to go on a revenge spree, going after all parties involved in the double crossing of him and his brother. And so it's a very kind of classic, for the most part, classic revenge tale. And it is technically rated R, but even for a rated R film, there's something low-key restrained about the movie. There aren't any really standout action sequences. In it, it's a serious action movie that doesn't have any memorable action moments in it, which is really kind of a travesty, considering the star that you're working with and kind of just the opportunity you have before you. But it was still early, right? So once again, there was a theme of, okay, we're gonna see what you do next time on the next one, because I know eventually you're gonna get one of these kind of hard R sci-fi action horror vehicles that's really gonna be out of this world. I know you got it in you. We can do it, right? And it kind of never happened. I know he did Doom. I didn't see Doom, so I'm not gonna just judge it too harshly because I didn't see it, and it just wouldn't make sense to just trash it if I didn't see it. Other people said it was trash, but what does that even mean? But like this movie, the Doom film, didn't have any kind of like positive impact, I think, in any direction. I know there's probably people that like it, but for the most part, it didn't leave any type of mark. But I want to fast forward to the Fast and the Furious franchise and his introduction into that. I did like Fast 5. I thought he did add something to that. He kind of reinvigorated the series a little bit, and I did think he was a net positive to Fast 5. But the thing about that Fast and Furious series is that he joined that. I don't view it as an action movie, even though it clearly has all out crazy action. I actually view it more in the same vein as like the Avengers, like the most recent Fast and the Furious movies, meaning like all of the movies after 5, and you might even want to include 5 in there actually as well. All of the recent Fast and the Furious movies have more in common with the Avengers than they do with like a traditional just hard hitting action movie. You know what I mean? And so in even The Rock's demeanor in those movies lends itself more towards, this is more like kind of comedic, lighthearted superhero team stuff. This isn't really just like an action movie, a heavy action movie, which is what I've been waiting pretty much his whole movie career. I've been waiting for The Rock to do that. The whole Hobbs and Shaw thing, yes, technically an action movie, but still in that same Avengers, Fast and the Furious type vein. It didn't really scratch that action movie itch. So I guess what I'm saying is The Rock still hasn't really had that quintessential or that set of quintessential kind of iconic R-rated action adventure films. Like he doesn't have, and that's something that Arnold Schwarzenegger just has multiples of. So you can talk about something like Total Recall, and of course, Predator, and of course the Terminator films, and then you got True Lies, which I know that's also a comedy. And then really think about it, True Lies is a type of movie, a style of movie that actually The Rock would be really well kind of suited for, since he seems to like to play in that kind of comedic, light-hearted realm, mixed with the fact that I can whoop ass too. He likes to play in that realm so much. Something along the lines of True Lies is the type of film that would probably be really right up The Rock's alley. My point being is Arnold just has a whole slew of just these very iconic, impactful, R-rated. And that's the other thing too about that time period, is you could go hard R in movies back in the day, and it's not like you're leaving money on the table. Like Arnold made Terminator. Those Terminator movies were very violent, very graphic, but they also still had toys in Toys R Us and whatnot, and there was able to be this kind of separation where it was like, okay, we still got toys, but we still also have this very blatantly hard R-rated movie, and there isn't any confusion there from a marketing standpoint. There's still probably some kids that are going to buy this action figure, and there's going to be some adults a lot of adults and teenagers that are going to watch this movie, and maybe a couple of kids will get allowed to watch the movie as well, because the adult will let them see it. But there wasn't that conflict there with that. Whereas now for some reason there's this conflict with stars where it's like, I can't do a hard, violent R action film because of, it's going to disrupt the marketing possibilities over here and all this type of stuff. How in the 80s, how were all the stars able to do super violent, action heavy movies, and it didn't affect the bottom line on anything? It didn't affect their marketability. Arnold Schwarzenegger could do all the stuff he did, but then turn right around and be accepted in Twins or be accepted in Kindergarten Cop. And even the hard R-rated movies that he did do, action films that he did do, those films still had action figures. So it was kind of like, I don't know. It's a wild thing. But so disappointed in how some of The Rock's movie choices have been. I think he's perfect for just the straight up action genre. And it's kind of mind-boggling that him and a big-time director haven't gotten together and actually made just a truly kind of, for his generation, iconic action film. Keanu Reeves just keeps like finding himself in hard-hitting, impactful action films and action franchises. It's an interesting thing when you compare Keanu Reeves and his action career to The Rock's action career. It's actually really mind-boggling the disparity between the two. You would think The Rock should just have great action movies out the yin yang, and really all the great action movies Keanu Reeves and Tom Cruise have, which is just it's a mind-boggling thing when you really kind of think about it. Like how did that actually happen? But that is it. I guess I just ranted about The Rock's movie career for 10 minutes, but it is what it is. Hopefully I will catch you guys on the next one.